My name is Emily. I am 24 years old. I live in a small town in Ohio, United States. My family came from Mexico when I was a child. At home, we spoke Spanish. It was our first language. But outside our house, people spoke English. At school, at the store, at the doctor's office, English was everywhere. I listened to English all the time. I could understand it. I could read it. I could write short sentences. But when I had to speak, I felt afraid. I did not feel ready. My heart would beat very fast. My hands would shake. My mouth would not open. I had many words in my mind, but I could not say them. I stayed quiet. I stayed silent. In school, I was always very quiet. I sat in the back of the classroom. I never raised my hand. I never asked questions. I wanted to be invisible. I did not want the teacher to call my name. But one day, something happened. My teacher looked at me. She smiled and said, "Emily, can you read this, please?" She gave me a paper. I looked at the words. My lips were dry. My throat felt tight. I wanted to speak, but I could not. I was frozen. Everyone looked at me. I felt very small. I felt like crying. That moment stayed in my heart for many years. After that day, I made a promise to myself. I said, one day, I will speak. One day, I will be strong. One day, I will not be afraid. But many days passed. I finished school. I got a job at a small coffee shop in my town. I worked every day. I made coffee. I cleaned tables. Customers came and talked to me. They said things like, "Can I get a latte?" Or "Do you have muffins today?" I smiled. I nodded my head. I said, "Okay," or "Sure." That was all. I did not say more. I wanted to speak more. I wanted to say, "How are you today?" Or "Have a great day." But I was afraid. I felt nervous. I didn't want to say the wrong word. I didn't want people to laugh. I didn't go to English class. I didn't have friends who spoke English. I felt alone. I didn't know how to practice. But inside, I still had a dream. I wanted to speak. I wanted to change. I wanted to feel free. Then one night, something different happened. I was sitting in my room. I was thinking about my life. I picked up my phone. I opened the voice recorder. I was not sure what to do. But I pressed the red button. I said, "Hi, my name is Emily." Then I stopped. I felt nervous, but I pressed play. I listened to my voice. It was soft. It was not strong. But it was my voice. I smiled. For the first time, I heard myself speak English. I did not feel scared. I felt curious. I asked myself, "Can I do it again tomorrow?" That small moment was the beginning of something big. That night was special. I did not go to a school. I did not talk to a teacher. But I talked to myself. I took the first step. I did not need a classroom. I did not need perfect grammar. I only needed courage. I only needed to begin. My phone was my tool. My voice was my key. That night, I opened a small door inside me. A door that had been closed for a long time. This was the first time I felt hope. I felt something new. I was still afraid. But I also felt strong. I had tried, and that was important. I remember that night very clearly. The room was quiet. The lights were soft. I was alone, but I didn't feel lonely. I felt like I had a small secret, a secret that made me smile. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if I would keep speaking. But in that moment, I made a new promise. I told myself, just 1 minute a day. Just speak to yourself. That is enough. And that is how my journey began. With one small sentence, with one small voice. With one big dream, a dream to speak. A dream to feel free, a dream to become fluent. From silence to sound, from fear to hope. From nothing to something. And that something was my voice. My true voice. The one that was waiting all along. Every night, I picked up my phone. I opened the voice recorder. I sat on my bed. I pressed the red button. Then I spoke. I said something simple like, "Hi, today was a long day." Or "I felt tired at work." Or "I made a mistake." And I felt nervous. Sometimes I spoke for 2 minutes. Sometimes I only said a few words. It didn't matter. What mattered was this: I spoke. I opened my mouth. I used my voice. I didn't correct myself. I didn't stop and say, "That was wrong." I just let the words come out. Each night, it got a little easier. My voice didn't shake so much. My heart didn't beat so fast. I felt more relaxed. I began to enjoy it. I began to like the sound of my own voice. It felt real. It felt like I was finally becoming friends with English. In the morning, I stood in front of the mirror. I looked at myself and smiled. I said, "Good morning, Emily. How are you today?" Then I answered, "I'm sleepy, but I'm okay." It felt funny at first. I laughed a little. It was strange to talk to myself, but I also felt strong. I was not waiting for someone to speak to me. I was speaking first. I made a little game for myself. I called it one smile, one sentence. Every time I smiled in the mirror, I had to say one sentence in English. It could be anything. I like my sweater. I feel happy today. I'm ready for work. It was fun. It was simple, and it helped me speak more. I started using English during small moments of the day. While brushing my teeth, I said, "What will I do today?" While cooking dinner, I said, "Now I cut the onion." Now I add the rice. While walking to work, I looked at the sky and said, "The sun is bright today." The trees are green. My day became full of small English sentences. My home became my classroom. Then I started watching easy English videos on YouTube. I searched for simple English vlog or slow English video. I found a girl talking about her morning. She spoke slowly and clearly. The video had subtitles. I paused after each sentence and repeated it. I wake up at 7. Pause. Repeat. I brush my hair. Pause. Repeat. I copied her voice. I copied her words. This helped me so much. I also listened to English podcasts. I like the short ones with simple language. Sometimes I didn't understand every word, but that was okay. I still listened. I still repeated. I spoke along with the podcast. This is called shadowing. I didn't know the word at that time, but I knew it worked. My ears listened. My mouth moved. My brain started to understand more. At night, before bed, I took a notebook. I wrote 2 short paragraphs in English. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't worry about mistakes. I just wrote what I felt. Today I made a mistake. I gave the wrong coffee. But I said sorry, and the customer smiled. Or I saw a cat. It was small and white. It made me smile. My notebook became my friend. A quiet friend who listened. I created a new activity for myself. I called it photo speaking. Every day, I took one photo with my phone. Then I looked at the photo and spoke 3 sentences in English. This is my lunch. It is soup and bread. I made it today. I did this every day. It helped me practice speaking and thinking in English. Then something amazing happened. One day, a customer came into the coffee shop. He smiled and said, "Hey, how's your day?" I smiled back. And this time, I didn't just say okay. I said, "It's going well, thanks." "How about you?" He smiled and answered, "I'm good." That was all. Just a few words, but it felt like a big win. I didn't freeze. I didn't hide. I spoke. One day, I made a funny mistake. I told a customer, "I'm very boring," when I wanted to say, "I'm very bored." He laughed. He said, "Don't say that about yourself." We both laughed. I laughed more when I got home. But I wasn't embarrassed. I was proud. That mistake helped me learn. It became part of my story. I began to enjoy speaking English. Not just practicing, not just studying, but really speaking. I talked to myself while folding laundry. I talked while feeding my cat. I asked myself questions like, "What will I cook today?" And "What did I learn today?" I answered them out loud. Speaking became normal. It became a part of my life. Like brushing my hair or listening to music. I didn't feel shy. I didn't feel scared. I felt strong. I felt happy. I felt free. And most of all, I felt proud. I had found my voice. Not in a classroom, not from a teacher. But inside myself, with small steps, with simple words. With practice every day, I learned that speaking alone is still speaking. I learned that my voice matters. I learned that I can grow, even in silence. And that made all the difference. One night, I looked in the mirror. I asked myself, Emily, what's next? I had practiced for many months. I could speak alone. I could say many sentences. I could talk about my day. I felt stronger and more confident. But now, I wanted something new. I wanted to speak with real people, so I opened my laptop. I typed into Google, Free English Conversation Group United States. I wanted to find a place where I could practice with other people. I didn't know what I would find, but I wanted to try. After a few minutes, I found something. There was a conversation group in Columbus. It was a big city, 2 hours away from my town. The group met every Saturday at a coffee shop. It was free. They said, everyone is welcome. My heart beat faster. I felt excited. I also felt nervous. Should I go? All week, I thought about it. I felt scared. I asked myself, what if I don't understand them? What if I freeze again? But then I remembered all the days I practiced alone. I remembered the times I made mistakes and kept going. I remembered how I smiled in the mirror and said, you can do it. On Saturday morning, I woke up early. I wore my favorite sweater. I packed a notebook and a pen just in case. I got into my car and started to drive. The roads were quiet. The sky was grey. I felt nervous, but I kept going. While I drove, I talked to myself. Hi, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you. I work in a coffee shop. I'm learning English. I said these sentences again and again. I wanted to warm up my voice, like a singer before a song. I wanted to feel ready. When I arrived in Columbus, I parked my car near the coffee shop. I saw people inside. They were laughing. They looked happy. I sat in my car. I held the steering wheel. My hands were shaking. A small voice in my head said, you can leave. You don't have to go in. But a louder voice said, you didn't come this far to stop now. I took a deep breath. I opened the car door. I walked inside. A kind woman smiled at me. She said, you must be Emily. Welcome. She gave me a name tag. I smiled, but I felt shy. I joined one of the small groups. People were already talking. I listened quietly. Then it was my turn to speak. I stood up. My heart was beating fast. My voice was shaking. But I said, hello, my dear friends. I'm Emily. I've been practicing English alone for 1 year. Today, I want to meet real friends. The room was silent for 1 second. Then people smiled. Some clapped, some nodded. I felt my face get warm, but my heart felt big and bright. We started talking in pairs. Each pair had 5 minutes. My first partner was a man named Daniel. He asked, what do you do? I said, I work at a coffee shop. I love making lattes. Then I asked, what do you do? He smiled and told me about his job. We talked and listened to each other. It was not perfect, but it was real. I felt something new. This was not like speaking to my mirror. This was not like repeating YouTube videos. This was better. This was alive. This was connection. After the group finished, someone said, hey, we have a Facebook page. We meet online every week too. You should join. I said yes. I felt proud. I felt excited. My voice had found a place not just in my room, but in the world. That night, I went home tired, but happy. I sat on my bed and opened my phone. I recorded a short message. I sent it to my cousin Sarah, who lives in Texas. I said, hi Sarah, I hope you're doing well. I want to tell you something. I've been practicing English every day. Today, I went to a conversation group. A few hours later, Sarah called me. She said, Emily, your English sounds so good. Are you taking classes? I laughed and said, no, I just talk to myself every day. She was surprised. Alone? She asked. Yes, I said. Alone, but not lonely. English is my friend now. When I look back now, I smile. I am not the same girl who was too scared to speak. I am not the girl who only said, okay. I am different. I have grown. I have changed. Not because of a teacher, not because of a class, but because I gave myself a chance. I gave myself permission to try. I gave myself permission to fail. And I gave myself permission to speak. English is not just a subject anymore. It is part of my life. It is part of my heart. So if you are learning English now, and you feel shy or scared, I want to tell you something. You are not alone. Your voice matters. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a perfect accent. You just need to begin. Talk to yourself. Talk to your mirror. Talk to your cat. Talk to your dreams. One word at a time, one day at a time. That's how I did it, and you can too. Emily's journey started with silence. She was afraid to speak. She had words in her head, but her mouth stayed closed. At school, she sat in the back and stayed quiet. At work, she only said short words like okay or sure. She felt small. She felt stuck, but deep inside, she had a dream. A dream to speak, a dream to be free. One night, she picked up her phone and recorded just one sentence. Hi, my name is Emily. That one sentence changed everything. She began to speak to herself every day. She used her phone, her mirror, her notebook. She spoke while walking, cooking, brushing her teeth. She listened to English. She repeated what she heard. She made mistakes, but she didn't stop. Slowly, her voice became stronger. She learned new words. She learned to enjoy speaking. And most of all, she learned to believe in herself. One day, she took a big step. She joined a real conversation group. She met people. She spoke. She listened. She laughed. Her voice, once afraid, was now alive. Emily didn't learn English in a classroom. She learned it in her room, with her phone, with her heart, and with her hope. So what is the lesson in this story? You don't need to be perfect to begin. You don't need a teacher. You don't need a big plan. You just need to start. Even one small sentence each day can lead to big change. Talk to yourself, write in a notebook, watch videos and repeat. Make English a small part of your day. Then make it a bigger part. You can grow, you can speak. You can shine, and now, congratulations. You listen to the whole story in English. That means your listening and understanding have already improved. Be proud of yourself. This is not easy. But you did it, and you are one step closer to fluency. Let's test your memory. Where did Emily go to speak with other people for the first time? A. A library in Texas. B. A coffee shop in Columbus. Comment your answer below. Or B. Let's see how many of you remember. If you enjoyed this story and it helped your English, please subscribe to the channel so we can make more stories for you. It gives us motivation and support to continue. Also, if you want to donate, it really helps us keep this project alive. In the beginning, it's very hard to make high-quality content for free. But we do this with love to help you learn English. Thank you for being part of this journey, and remember, your voice matters, always.